I'm making some sugar syrup to feed my bees tonight. Interestingly, there's loads of recipes all over the internet, 2-to-1 mixtures, 1-to-1 mixtures, whatever. I used to follow them to the letter and all the rest of it, and actually what I've discovered is if bees are hungry, bees will take the food down. It's simple as that. So what I have done is I have a bucket of sugar and I've weighed up like 1,000 grams of sugar, and I put 900 grams of water in a saucepan, and that's what they're having. Whether it's right, wrong, I don't really care. All I know is the bees will take it down if they need it, which they will do on this particular hive that I'm feeding because they need to draw out the wax. It will give them an energy, whatever. I'm only going to give them a tiny weeny little bucket anyway tonight, so it gives them, they'll be able to get rid of it by tomorrow morning anyway. So all you've got to do basically is make sure all the sugar granules are completely dissolved, so there's no granules in it at all, and make sure it's completely cooled down, and feed it to bees. I worry about my bees a lot. I'm a real bee warrior, but I think people overanalyze everything far too much. I've put on old cappings from other hives before. Everyone's like, oh, it's cross-infection, bad microbes and stuff like that. But you know what? A lot of the time, if bees are starving, like, they're going to die anyway. They're not going to make it through. So what would you rather do? Give them a fighting chance, or just let them die? So I used to get so hung up on how much to feed them, what to feed them. I used to be making fondant and all sorts of things, like literally everything. I used to get in such a state about it, and am I doing it right or wrong or whatever. And from my experience, since where I've had to do things in a hurry and maybe haven't had enough time to sort of put much thought into it, and I've watched bees literally go for anything. If there's sugar water around, if there's old cappings around, anything like that, then quite honestly, I feed them it. The thing is, I don't really take honey from my hives. So you can hear there's still a little bit of granulated sugar in there. I've turned the heat off. So it just needs to dissolve in the water. I'm doing what's best for them right at this precise moment in time. When bees are stressed out, that actually does cause disease, because they're under pressure, and it puts their bodies under pressure, and it puts the whole hive under pressure. And so actually, if you could just give them a boost every now and then. I have actually used cappings from other hives that have died over winter, and I have buckets of them left. Let me show you. Like, I literally have a bucket full of cappings with honey in it, which I will be feeding back to my hives in wintertime, because why wouldn't I? The hives that it came from are dead anyway, so I can't feed it back to them. And quite honestly, if they need it and they're starving, I think you've got to do what's right for you, what you feel is right. If you want to follow all the scientific books and the guidelines about everything, then that's up to you. But they're in my garden, they're in on private land, they're my bees, and as far as I'm concerned, if bees are dying and I have to feed them someone else's cappings, sugar water that isn't correctly weighed out, honestly. So I see people feeding bumblebees honey all the time on Facebook or whatever, and I'm just like, I can't even be bothered to say to them it's not good for them, because actually at that particular moment in time, that's where you're giving a bumblebee another day's worth of work, or she might be just needing a rest and recuperation. So bees only live 6 weeks in summertime. So me feeding them a little bit of sugar water that isn't quite measured out right, that isn't like the exact science, I don't think it's going to hurt them too much. I personally would rather they had all their own honey and I didn't feed them at all, because this is why I don't take the honey from the hives. Because that is their winter stores, and that is how I believe that bees should live. I don't believe in raping the bees of the honey and giving them sugar water at all if I can help it. And like I said, I will only be giving them a tiny little bucket, and I only have those little feeder buckets. because I don't want to make them reliant on this disgusting sugar. Wouldn't drink that amount of sugar water in a million years. You know, all the other crap that you eat, which is processed with loads of sugar in it. I don't agree with that either. We're poisoning ourselves, and I don't want to poison my bees any more than I have to. So that's my take on the whole feeding bee situation. Yeah, if I was doing a shook swarm, I would be a bit more probably accurate with what I'm doing, because they have to build up fast and it can be critical for them at that time of year. But quite honestly, again, I would rather, if I was doing a shook swarm and they've got their own honey on their hives, I don't feed them at all. I'll just give them back their honey. They'll start again. They'll they'll bloom. It's just the way I work, and quite honestly, I've had 14 hives for 10 years pretty much, and I only ever lose 2 hives over winter max. When I used to have 4 hives, I did shook swarms quite a lot, but now it's getting so expensive to buy frames and foundation and stuff, and I would do them every single year if I could afford it. I can't afford it. I just can't keep up with the cost of foundation and the cost of frames and stuff, because I don't sell honey, because I don't make money off my hives. Um, it's a very expensive hobby, you know. A commercial beekeeper, fair enough, you do what you got to do, and I don't judge anyone for how they keep their bees or what they want to do with them. Yeah, be gentle, because at the end of the day, I live gently with my bees, and I try and do as little as possible, and I try and help them out if they've got varroa by doing a shook swarm, or even just cleaning some of the frames, taking some of those eggs away, and freezing them, and just letting them have a break. But there's lots of ways to do things. Yeah, so there we go.